and welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. A couple of different topics today, a little bit of everything. Sean Hannity changes his tune on COVID vaccinations. We want to talk about wildfires, kind of like the negative side, obviously, everyone knows, but is there a positive side? We've got some sports stuff. The U.S. women's soccer team took an L. The Milwaukee Bucks are your 2021 NBA champions, and then a little bit of pop culture stuff. But first and foremost, before anything else, Mark, how are you feeling today?
I am feeling better than the women's national soccer team, who just got thumped.
Yeah, they did.
You said they took the L. My kids would say they took the fat L, which I don't know, like, if that's all that more emphatic. But yeah, but on that, I'm good. Let's go.
Here we go. You wanted to talk. You brought up kind of like a different take on the Sean Hannity coming out and saying that everyone should get vaccinated. And I actually appreciate your take. I think it's a good one. So go for it.
I like you start with Sean Hannity coming out, and for all the people that are going to edit it right there, they're just like, whoa. So it was big news the Monday night, I guess. And I think we covered it here on North Central PA that Sean Hannity came out and was just like, please go get vaccinated. Believe the science and go get vaccinated. And Hannity's been a huge supporter of Trump throughout the times. And not that, I mean, Trump got vaccinated before he left the office. But it's, as everything in the world now has become politicized, the vaccinations have become politicized. And even though it's not total, because I talked to a Democrat this week, I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, who is a non-vaxxer. And there are obviously Republicans who have run right out and got vaxxed. So it's not, but generally speaking, that the Fox News and the Tucker Carlsons have been the people who are more against it, and the Democrats are more for it. And, Sean Hannity comes out and makes this, it wasn't even a plea. It was just kind of a basic statement of like, listen, believe the science, people are dying. Enough people have died, and go get your vaccination. So, and immediately in the world, because of where we've got to, because everything seems to be agendaed and everything seems to be, we believe that everything's said with an agenda. People are like, well, why did he say it now? What was the reason? What was his motivating force? And you just wonder, like, number one, are people allowed to A, change their mind, B, not necessarily even change their mind, but just become more enlightened? Because a lot of topics in life people get thrown at us and we don't really know. And we kind of have an initial feeling, a gut one way or the other. But as we become more educated on it, we're like, oh, okay. Or was he just, speaking from his heart and off the top of his head and just saying something that a lot of people really believe? Because the statistics now are the people that are getting COVID and the people are getting sick. Yes, there are some breakthroughs of people who've been vaccinated, they're getting COVID again. But they're talking like 99% of the hospitalizations now are people who are unvaccinated. So we're at a point in society where every time someone says something, someone like that, our immediate thought is, what's their motivation and who's telling them to say it and what's their agenda? And I wonder, do people just have the ability to speak off the cuff and change their mind?
Like thinking out loud. This is what I will say, and I think the point that you bring up is like, it is becoming harder and harder for people to just change their mind. It's becoming really hard to do that. And that there's a sadness to that, because you and I have talked about, different situations where, that may be somebody's belief, or somebody may have been educated a different way, or somebody may have a different viewpoint on it. And the Sean Hannity one is fascinating, because what it is people sometimes have a hard time separating personal brand versus your company brand. And so just because the company that you may work for, or whatever you're representing when he goes to work, doesn't mean that he may not go home at night and he has a different personal brand or a different personal belief. Now, we'd like to think that those two things always align, right? Like, we'd like to think that everybody in the world just works for a company and they're perfectly aligned with that brand's identity. And there are things that Sean Hannity for sure aligns with Fox. But this is one of those instances where, like, it is funny how some people cannot accept the fact that somebody could work for one company, but necessarily come out and say, well, you know what, like, my personal belief is this, or this is what I think should be done. And that disconnect bothers people. Like, it's hard for people to be okay with that. And like you said, like, we're just kind of at that point in society where like it's hard to change your mind, and it's hard for you as an individual to be it. Like, it's weird that people can't be okay with the fact that you may think one thing, even though the company you work for may have a different agenda or a different belief.
And there was a quote from someone, and I wish I remember who it was, but they were criticizing someone who changed their mind. And this was long before COVID that I'd read this. Yeah. But he's like, well, the information changed. Yeah. Like, I got new information that taught me more than I knew before. So yes, my opinion changed because my information changed. By the way, there's a round thermostat on the wall behind you, isn't there?
Yes, right there.
Because it looks like a drip. I almost tried to wipe off my computer screen because I thought it was like a drop.
I refer back to our conversations in the last like 12 to 16 months about COVID. And like, my conversations with you started with like, boy, this vaccination's coming out fast. Like, I have no idea. And then I said to you, like, hey, I just researched and I read all this stuff about the guy who created the vaccine, and he did all these other ones through the 90s and the 2000s. And like, it's fascinating, and the science is incredible behind it. And then like, so the point I'm making is like, our conversations, the tune between us has changed from just like start to finish, and what I didn't know versus what I do know, and my opinions and like my fears have shifted to different things. Cause I came on like a couple weeks ago and I said to you, like, I don't know if people will ever be willing to wear masks again. And early on, I was saying to you, like, I think the majority of people are wearing masks right now. So the point, like, I have said different things. You have said different things. We have changed our mind. Our conversations have shifted. Like, there has to be a flexibility when you're talking about this stuff, because you don't just want people's initial reaction. If you're just going to be in a world where the first thing that somebody says, or the first time they ask a question or make a statement, and that's just now their identity and they are stuck with that, that's brutal. Like, yes. It's just not where you want to be, whether it's society or media or news or whatever it is. There has to be like a flow of flexibility where people are allowed to, and I don't even want to say better themselves. Like, I'm not saying Sean Hannity is a better person because he came out and said this. I don't think that's like a fair statement. But what I do think is like, I give kudos to Sean Hannity being willing to like adapt and adjust and like say, you know, this is what I thought at one point, and now I think differently. Like, that's okay.
Well, and one of the fun, as you were just talking about this, I've learned almost everything I know of the history of vaccines from a quick dissertation that you gave me after you did all this research. Yeah. And I wonder how many people don't know any of the history of vaccines, because what my 15-second summation of what you told me is like, they didn't start from scratch. No. Like, they worked this, and you explained how it works, and it builds a protein and blah, blah. Yeah. And you gave me like literally a 2 minutes Cliff Notes version. And I was like, oh, that all makes sense. Because if you think they went into the lab and they started at ground zero and they're like, all right, page one, right, you know, in the beginning, it wasn't like that.
And there's also this idea of like, it's 50 people running around in lab coats, and it's like, they're not, and it's not like, it's a select few people that have dealt with this and are professionals and have solved other, you know, cases that needed to be solved and prepped the right vaccinations for it. So it's just that idea of, it's not even about being right. It's just the flexibility. Like, I appreciate the fact that as a person going through this, that didn't have all the answers, I was allowed to express the opinion to you, like, boy, this is fast. Like, I don't feel great about this vaccination stuff. Like, it's happening really quickly. And then a month later, like, coming to you and being like, hey, this was fascinating. Like, I got to tell you about like what I read, everything else. There just has to be fluidity in what people are allowed to say, and how, you know, like, I salute Sean Hannity for being willing to come out and change his tune. Because a part of you, like, when you're in that business and you're in that industry, you have to know that there's going to be backlash if you come out and change your mind. Even if you're right, you're wrong, it doesn't even matter. Just the fact that people can double back, prove that you said something else, and then changed your tune. It doesn't even matter if you think you're doing the right thing. You're going to be criticized for it. So like, kudos to Sean Hannity. And I don't say that very often.
What's next?
You brought up interesting, because with all the wildfires going on, And you and I have kind of like talked about some of it in the office. Like every once in a while, I'll look up and I'll be like, hey, did you see how many acres, or did you hear about this? Is there a positive side to America's wildfires? It's kind of an ironic question because obviously the negatives far outweigh the positives, but you brought up the way the media is portraying this sometimes is a little bizarre.
Well, yeah, Em and I were talking about it this morning, and bizarre is the right word. I remember watching the news the other night, and the they're doing the weather and the guys outside and all this stuff, and they're like, oh, and we're gonna have a beautiful sunset because of the smoke from the wildfires, and everybody go check it out.
Right.
And it was almost like, hey, look, it's the new, it's like nature's filter for your phone, and how beautiful it's going to be that half the country's on fire. But look, we get pretty sunsets.
Right.
And I was like, are they doing this because there's so much negative, and COVID has been so negative, and now the wildfires of last year were bad. This year they might be worse. Right. And they're just trying to like, hey, everything sucks, but at least it's pretty. And I was like, that's an odd. It just seems odd to me. And Em and I were talking. She's about about the air quality, people with asthma, older people who have sensitivities to this stuff. Like, this is a bad thing. Now, I also understand if you're a local Pennsylvania news, we are in no danger of burning because it rains here every day, and we have gone to we've become Seattle all of a sudden. So there's that aspect, and there's also the other aspect of there's nothing we can really do. And I know they're trying to fight the fires, but it's like if you want to bring a doom and gloom of more doom and gloom, that maybe it is okay to say, hey, go look at it because it's pretty. It just seems like a very odd, it's almost like they were celebrating it a little bit, and it just seemed like a crazy thing to celebrate.
It definitely shows like a disconnection. Like it shows like people are losing their homes, things are happening somewhere else that's so negative, but yet there's a disconnect. I've always said like that's the crazy thing about like international news, foreign news, is like Americans can just be so separated from it that it's almost there's a disconnect there. Like it's hard for them to really evaluate what's actually happening when it's just hundreds and hundreds of miles away. And that's what it's kind of like on the East Coast with Americans' wildfires. Like it's just so, even though it's in the United States, it's so far away that there's enough of a disconnect that a media conglomerate or a media outlet would sell the idea of like, well, we're going to get these awesome pictures because of wildfires on the West Coast. So I just think it's that disconnect. People have a hard time when it's not directly in front of them. Sometimes it's very hard for them to connect with it.
I would agree with that 100%. It's almost like when COVID started, and here we saw like no effect of it.
Yeah.
And people in the cities are talking. And to us, it was a TV show.
Yeah.
It was on the nightly news. They're talking about something that we have no part of.
Yep.
So yeah, the wildfires are the same way. That's a very good point.
The last thing there is, so like from a positive side of wildfires, and I'm not going to do a great job, but you can look it up if you're more interested. There is like an ecological like advantage to wildfires. Like there's a process like in wilderness when things die out, they burn up easily. So when you see wildfires, sometimes, there is a benefit. It's burning off the old, the canopy is removed. It allows the new to grow up through. So there is a cycle that wildfires can be a part of. The problem that we're having right now is like, the question is how many of these wildfires are ecological benefits versus how many of these wildfires are caused because whether it's climate change or whatever it is. So that's the biggest thing. I would love to have somebody on who knows more about it to really discuss that. Like, what are the ecological benefits, but are these really like ecological wildfires? Like, are these natural wildfires? Are these things that if we weren't around, would this be like how sped up is the cycle because of humans? That would be
when I was in school, because I paid attention, there's some sort of tree that their seeds only get released because of the immense heat of a fire.
Yes.
And I don't know what kind of tree it is because I didn't pay that much attention, but I do remember that. So you're right. This is part of the natural cycle of things, but that wasn't the angle I was going with.
No.
I was just angling the odd celebration, if you will, of the East Coast, and just how scenic the smoke becomes when the smoke is kind of a bad thing.
Yes. Let's do this real quick. We are going to spin the wheel today.
We are spinning the wheel.
We are spinning the wheel. Thank you to Weiss Markets. Be sure to go there for all your grocery needs. We have a $25 gift card, a $50 gift card, and a $100 gift card to Weiss Markets. We also have Moon and Raven Pub. We have Eat and Run Catering, and we have the Break Room. Be sure to blow off some steam before the end of the summer. How can they win, Mark?
Go to Facebook, search the Midday Show, and that is us. And then you join or like or whatever it's called. And then you will have your name thrown in with all the other people that like us, which there should be billions, but there's not. And then the computer will spit out a name, and we get a winner, and the winner gets a T-shirt and a chance to win something more.
There it is. And today's random winner from the Midday Show Facebook group is Bradley Walter.
There we go.
Bradley Walter. He's got to be at least 60.
You think?
That's an old name.
Well, Walter is, but it's his last name. If his first name was Walter, I would say yes.
Walter Bradley?
Yes.
Okay. Guess, how old do you think Bradley Walter is?
I don't know. In one of my scripts, the old guy's named Walter because it is just such an old name.
Well, the comedian, the guy who used to do the ventriloquism, Jeff Dunham. Yes. His old guy, the most popular one is Walter.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Walter's. There ain't no kids running around daycare right now named Walt.
No, there isn't. Go ahead and spin that wheel.
You should bring that back.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Walter Everett, that kid would be wise beyond his years.
He would have.
He would be like Benjamin Button. He would be born at 85 years old.
It might be his only chance.
All right, here we go to Bradley Walter for the win, and we got nothing.
Oh,
sorry,
no go. Sorry, Bradley.
I don't know. I've lost all my wheel mojo. I got to get.
You got to get that back
into it. I don't know.
You've been struggling.
I don't know what
I'll ask you. Do you want to do a pop culture or a sports one? Pick.
Let's do the pop culture because it's quick. Because I don't really know what to say about it. But
yeah, that's fine.
This one's fun. Yeah, these are fun.
Dolly Parton still crushing it at age 75. Two big things came out here today. You told me the Dolly Parton news, but you also told me Playboy is no longer in physical publication. They're no longer doing print.
The story that I found about this is Dolly Parton, 75 years old. And she back in 1978. I don't remember when what was that movie shoot 9 to 5? I don't remember when 9 to 5 came out, but she was on top of the world. And she was on the cover of Playboy in a bunny costume. Yeah. And she'd said she made some joke or a comment, or I don't know how much of a joke it was, somewhere along the line that she wanted to recreate it when she was 75. Yeah. And she did for her husband's birthday. She's been married to the same dude for 57 years. Which means she was 18 when they got married, which is, congratulations to them. But she remade it, and you can find the video of it. She's talking through it, and Dolly Parton is like one of these most lovable people. She's one of the most. I don't know if anyone doesn't like Dolly Parton, but anyway. So while I was reading it, and I saw, my first thought was, God, I didn't even know Playboy was still in existence. And then as I kept reading it, it's not in existence. They don't print it anymore. So. I don't know when that happened, but that was my revelation. But yeah, you can find the story online. It's a lot of fun. She's obviously got Dollywood down there in Tennessee, which is like enormous. And she made a big donation to, she made like $1 million donation to help find a vaccine. And, but yeah, I didn't know, I think 50 Grammy Award nominations, 26 #1 hits, something like that. Her success, I think, is kind of overshadowed by her persona and her endowment and, all these things that have overshadowed the fact that she's been unbelievably successful, but still seems to be like this normal person.
Yes. The new series on Netflix called This Is Pop. They did episode 2. They do Country Goes Pop, and they do a fantastic 20 minutes on the importance of Dolly Parton and what she meant to like country music and kind of pushing it forward. Because country wasn't under, country was never going away, but in the series, what they kind of talk about is like, she kind of helped it float to the next part. Cause there was this point in time where with like Willie Nelson and different people, they weren't really sure where country was going. And then Dolly Parton came along and kind of like helped bridge the gap, and then country took off after that. So, you know, I don't think country would have gone away without her, but she certainly helped it kind of take that trajectory further up. Really neat if you haven't seen it.
I have not, but yes. So there we go. We have that.
Really, really fascinating. We kind of touched on this. U.S. women's soccer team loses 3-0 to Sweden. Is there like U.S. women's soccer team? Is there a more what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it just feels like there is always drama. No, it just feels like there's always drama around the U.S. women's soccer team the last like 2 years.
Are you saying when you get a bunch of women around, there's drama? Is that the connection you were making?
I'm not saying that at all.
I think that's what you're saying.
You're saying that. I'm simply saying that, like, never a dull moment with U.S. women's soccer right now.
Well, they'd won 44. I guess in soccer, the Olympics started today. Because I know the opening ceremonies are Friday. But I guess this started and this counted. And I'm trying to find – I read, and I don't know what it means. They're in pools. I think they're in, like, Group G. I think there's 4 teams in each group. And the top 2 move on. So but
the bigger deal
to lose 3-0 in soccer is like is getting blown out, and they'd gone 44 straight international contests, I guess, without losing. I don't know how many of those were ties, but since women's soccer has become an Olympic sport, they've made the finals 5 out of 6 times. The only time they didn't make the finals, they lost to Sweden in the semis or in the quarters, one of the two. So, but yeah, like this is we talked about the men's basketball team struggling, the women's basketball team struggling in places that America always dominates. We always dominate women's soccer, and we just got taken to the woodshed here right away. Welcome to Tokyo.
Yeah, the bigger issue isn't the loss, it's the 3-0. Because from the points system, like if we end up in a tie or if something comes up, like that 3-0 difference, because it goes down to goal differential. So it's not the 1-0. Like if we lost 1-0, that's a big deal. But losing 3-0 could be devastating. Because
I was just gonna say the other aspect is there's a thing about playing poorly, and then there's a thing about like, maybe we're not as good as we thought. So to just say, well, they're gonna play better next time, and they're gonna go out and crush them. I think they have Australia next. I don't remember. I saw they play Friday. I think they play Friday, Tuesday. But yeah, it's I mean, I can't believe they wouldn't get out of the pool round, but this is, they throw up a tie against someone. Yeah, who knows?
No, wow. Being -3 in the goal differential is a big deal right now.
Yeah.
Very
we just got to shoot from further out, make it up quicker.
They're going to have to figure something
out. Don't go to the hoop, shoot from deep.
Yeah, because you could go 2-1 now, and you could lose because of the goal differential. Like, even if you win out, you may not get in.
Yeah, you'd have to have 3 teams go 2-1, but yeah.
Yep, but that happens more often than you think, because you go 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 0-3, and then the 3 2-1 teams, it comes down to goal differential, and you're -3 already. It happens. It's not good. M. Night Shyamalan is up to his old tricks. You like what I did there? See what I did?
Very clever. Very clever.
Thank you. Are you an M. Night Shyamalan fan?
Well, here's the thing. The first one he did with Bruce, I See Dead People. What's it?
With Bruce?
Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense, yes, is one of the great movies of all time. Like, what a brilliant concept. Sure. And I think it's gone slowly downhill since then. A lot of people love Signs. I didn't. I actually
didn't like Signs.
It's all right. I can't tell you the last M. Night Shyamalan movie and I've seen, because of watching basketball playoffs, I've seen the previews for this old movie where they're on the beach and they're aging a year and a half hour, whatever it is. I've watched this preview 20 times, and every time I watch it, I think there's no way this movie can be any good. What are your thoughts?
I think it could be okay. So here's one of the things. It's based off of a Stephen King novel, I believe.
Okay.
So it's not like it's an original script. It's not like something he's just like pulling out of thin air, which I think could help. I think here's the funny part. If his movies would have been staggered differently, I don't think people would be as down on him as they are. The problem was, like, it was just like his greatest ever, and then his kind of like his second, and then his third, and it just kind of went downhill. So there was no like exponential, there was no like wave. It was just kind of like greatest, next, worst, and kind of like this downward trend. So
Did you ever see Girl in the Water or whatever that was called? Was that the worst movie ever made?
It's close. It's certainly close. Yeah, it's not good. But I liked Signs. I liked The Village.
I like The Village. There are not a lot of people that like The Village, so I don't really say that out loud very much.
I thought The Village was fine. People forget like Unbreakable. I thought was fine. He just recently had some good ones. Did you see Split?
No.
With McAvoy. See, it's like a superhero thing. It's very good. Like it's very good. It's a little like horror movie-ish, but it's very, very good. Like I said, he's made some clunkers. I'm not going to sit here and say he hasn't. I'm just saying the trajectory, like the order of which he made the movies has not helped him at all. He's almost underrated now.
I think the order, because he hit it big, and if he made a movie before Sixth Sense, I don't know what it was, but I think he immediately made himself iconic.
Yeah.
And then he's just scrambled ever since. And yeah, I mean, Signs wasn't bad. Unbreakable wasn't bad.
But there's a lot of people who make movies that never, like, if you just took his top 5, there's a lot of successful people who make movies that don't even come close to his top 5. So all I'm saying is the order in which he did it, like, just he's a weird person to talk about in the movie industry.
I guess, but you also look at, and I'm sure Spielberg's done clunkers, and I'm sure, and I know, what's his name? The guy that did Pulp Fiction, and he just did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Him, the famous guy. He's done his clunkers too, but like when they come out with, I just. Like M. Night Shyamalan comes out with another movie, and my immediate thought now is it's been a long, long time since he did Sixth Sense, and this movie's going to suck too. Did you see The Happening or whatever that was called?
Now, see, I have an awful story about The Happening. I never
saw it.
I have it. I can't even tell the story. Well, so there was someone in my life who had a tragic incident in the family. And then for anybody who's seen The Happening, they know how everyone dies in The Happening. And we went to see The Happening like a month afterwards, and not knowing what the movie was actually going to be about.
Quentin Tarantino. God, I can't believe I couldn't think of that name. Sorry.
Did you hear any of my story?
I did. Yeah. You had the person in your life, and you're going to see the movie.
And so like 20 minutes into the movie, like we had to get up and leave because we didn't know that's what it was going to be about. And it was just awful. However, like I ended up watching it like 8 months later when it came out to like TV, and like I didn't mind it. Like I didn't think it was awful. Like it wasn't good, but it wasn't like I didn't mind the movie.
Well, I remember watching Girl in the Water, and I wish I would have got up 20 minutes and left.
Yeah, he did the other one too. It was about I can't remember what it was. They're in like an elevator, and he's done some bad ones. He's done some bad ones. Sure. Listen, like I also think he's kind of like I don't want to call him a home run hitter, but he's kind of like you're either getting it or you're not. There isn't a ton, like there's not a lot of middle ground M. Night Shyamalan out there.
I wonder if there's any, like when I hear this, I'm like less intrigued. I'm like, I think it's going to suck because I don't think he's made a good one in a long time.
Yeah.
Like, would it help the marketing to take his name out of it? Or is he still that big of a name that people are like?
I just think there's enough people like me that like all roll the dice on it. Like I liked 4 or 5 of the movies that he did. They're unique to him. Like you can tell that it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. And like I will roll the dice in case it's one of those 5. So like I will watch Old because like just in case he hits something that like the other ones. I'm pretty sure this is based off of a Stephen King novel. So for that reason, go ahead.
I was going to say, you want me to give you a prediction?
Go ahead.
You're going to watch it and you're going to tell me it wasn't that good.
Yeah, that's a very safe. I think the sun's going to come out tomorrow. Like I don't know what you're trying to tell me, but if it happens to be a signs or obviously it won't be a sixth sense, but if it's a village, like I'll be happy I saw it, and I like those movies enough. I'm gonna take the chance.
You're a better man than I am, Jeff.
Before we end the show today, the Milwaukee Bucks are the 2021 NBA champs.
I have this will be very good news to a listener, viewer, friend who, as we were talking about topics, and her comment was, I am so sick of basketball. So this is our last comment about basketball for a while until the Olympic team lose, and then we'll bring it back up. But I feel bad for Chris Paul. I'm happy for Milwaukee because the city I know they're with Green Bay, so they've had the Green Bay success. Sure. But the Brewers made the World Series in 83, I think, 82, 83 with Harvey's Wallbangers. And they've had a little taste of success. They had Sabathia for a couple months, and then but it's been a long time for the Brewers. The Bucks have been a non-existent team for 50 years, essentially. So good for them, and good for Laverne and Shirley, who are the most famous things of Milwaukee before this. You don't even know who Laverne and Shirley are, do you?
Yes, I know who Laverne and Shirley are.
Yeah, I guess Fonzie was more famous than Laverne and Shirley, but still, you get the point.
I understand the point. All right. That was it. Anything else? Any advice for everybody's Wednesday?
Wednesday advice. We should do a Wednesday advice column. And no, like you caught me. Oh, did you see my Facebook post about the fair?
Yes, I did.
My daughter won 2 knives.
Yes.
And the comments that people have got, like, only in rural Pennsylvania at the county fair can you win knives. And it's like when I was a kid, it was the Coke toss. They give you the plastic rings, you throw it over the Coke bottle, you win a can of Coke. Like they used to have that at like the PTA, fair. But they stick a knife in the board. They give you a basket full of rings. You try to flip them. And my daughter wasn't even doing it right. She was doing some like backspin flip.
Uh-huh.
And she was throwing for the one on top, which they're on levels. And you can't get the one on top because there's a sign that hangs over. It's like mathematically, like, why would you shoot for that one? Shoot for one. But she hit it, and she won twice. So
she got 2 knives.
She got 2 knives.
That's fantastic.
Did you see we literally, I was like, here, we got to take a picture. So we opened them. We couldn't get the blade closed because we don't know not. Like we are, I say city slickers, even though there are no such thing in Matoursville, but we're like, and literally we went back up to the counter to ask him how to get the blades closed. And some little 10-year-old kid takes me, he goes, oh, here, just do this. Blah, blah, blah. And he took them both and he flipped them. And I was like, oh, how did you do that? And he showed me and I was like, thank you.
He just
so there we go.
When I had an uncle when we were all, because I have a lot of cousins. So probably, there's got to be 8 or 10 of us that were born at this time. And I had an uncle who gave out these almost like hunting knives for Christmas the one year. So all of us, and we're all I think the oldest one at the time was 14. So it was 14 through 5, and we all got hunting knives for Christmas the one year. I swear to God, this is a true story.
That is awesome.
So you talk about Central PA, fair stuff, knives and that. I'll never forget that.
And the food is delicious again.
I believe it.
Ice cream, pizza, funnel cakes. What else do you want? It was a nice night. If you haven't been to the fair, you need to go. And last night, what was funny is I went by myself. My daughter and her boyfriend were there, but my son bagged out. And I was like, I didn't get to go last year because of COVID. We got conflicts coming up the weekend. I'm not going to be around, so I'm going. And then I just happened to run into them right when I walked in, and then we went and won knives. So their Christmas shopping is half done. I don't know who's going to get them, but really, her technique sucked. It was like, why are you doing? You don't go backspin with but it works. Apparently, it doesn't suck. Apparently, it was better than my technique.
I don't think you get to tell her it sucks anymore.
The family basket is the way to go. There's sizes. There's individual basket, family basket, and jumbo basket of rings. We went with the family basket, and it's plenty of rings to win 2 knives.
You go ahead. You take us out. Go for it.
So there you go. Go to the fair. That's my advice. You want me to give an advice column on Wednesday? Go to the fair. It is, if you walk around the fair and can't like gorge yourself with food that you know you shouldn't be eating, but you're going to eat anyway. Yes, that's what you need to do. Go to the fair.
All right. Wrap it up for us.
Go to the fair. No, that's not what you meant. Well, thanks for joining us today on the Midday Show. I am Mark Messina. He is Jeff Everett. He is annoyed with me. That's why he's done talking.
I'm not annoyed. I'm not annoyed at all. But you're going to be mad. You're going to be mad if I'm late for the next things.
Oh, that's true. I got to shut up. Oh, sorry. We got to shut up. All right. We got to go because we have places to go. I'm Mark Messina. He's Jeff Everett. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow on the Midday Show. And thank you to Wise Mark.
Perfect.
Done. Cut.